good?
I heard you tell me it's around.
Yeah.
All right, we're
Yeah,
good.
no problem. Call meeting to order. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Reeser?
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Here.
Mrs. Tipping? Here. Mr. Burrow?
Here.
And Mr. Wagner?
Mr. Wagner is on vacation. I would make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll move. Or I'll second.
Any discussion? Call vote?
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mrs. Tipping? Yes. Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
And Mr. Wagner?
All right, Jonathan, Superintendent Officer.
Requesting the ability to, during kind of these unprecedented times, to utilize the revised code offering of dictating work schedules, calendars for all staff in the district, including extended hours, overtime, and extended days. The reasoning behind that is a number of our, truth be told, the majority of our staff are not working the month of July. If they do work the month of July, it's the end of July, and we have a lot of work to do in planning various scenarios right now, and I need those folks here to help. So some examples of that are Mr. DeVoe, Mrs. Bullock with the online offering. We need some of our administrative assistants that have been helping out the treasurer's office and through my office. So this would give us great flexibility in really unprecedented, and everything seems very urgent right now. So this would give me some flexibility to get done what the board and the community wants done for the school.
I'll second.
All right. But, as you mentioned, it's unprecedented times. If there's any way we can have a maximum for that?
I think we could.
I'm
I
not
could.
comfortable giving one, and that's, I understand.
I think
that
we
too.
could. Kristen and I hadn't really talked about a maximum.
We definitely could do a report out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, what if we just said for 6 months and then we look at it again?
Well, in truth, we could do that. Yeah, we could do through December of 2020. And Kristen and I are committed to providing you the numbers and the reports and those kinds of things. What we didn't want to get into a scenario was having to wait until August to either get the work done or get people paid that did work.
I
4 or 5
understand.
weeks.
Yeah, I don't like open-ended.
Sure.
Yeah, I think just so we know we have to come back to it, who knows what'll happen with any of us.
Yeah, this is
You know what I
July.
mean? It should be documented that it's for a limited period of time.
Maybe we go till October for quarterly review if we still need it after that. So,
You want to say effective July 1 through October 1?
per Robert's rules, we should probably have a motion to amend the motion. Motion to amend the motion, is that right? I will make a motion, we amend the motion to say July 1st through October 1st.
I'll second. Okay. Jeff had it.
Any discussion on the motion to amend the motion? Call vote?
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
And Mrs. Tipping? Yes.
And then now we will call a vote. Any more discussion on the original motion? Call a vote on that.
Mrs. Tipping? Yes. Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
And Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
Leave of absence?
Just recommending Mrs. Diane Broback, a teacher at the elementary school, is requesting a medical leave of absence for the 2020-2021 school year.
I move we approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call vote?
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
And Mrs. Tipping? Yes.
Kristen?
We wondered if there was some interest in the board having a method of tracking our expenses. So we made a recommendation to establish a special cost center within the general fund for that, and then to move $50,000 from the general fund regular account into this special cost center. That would allow us to pay things right out of there and be able to show you if we've had additional expenses. We're thinking mainly like supplies, cleaning material, PPE, that type of thing. Things that are already being tracked through the COVID funding, CARES funding account, but we didn't want to get to the end and have the question and not be able to show you that information, so this would let you see that.
I move we establish a fund for COVID expense.
I second that. Next, just a comment.
Go ahead, Penny.
I was just gonna say, I'm glad and that we're doing and this, and I like the idea of being able to separate it and track it, because then we can later back it out and look and still see how we look as a whole with the district had COVID not happened. So we'll still be able to see if we're running on track or not, and then be able to also show everybody, here's what COVID, how it affected us. So I like the idea of being able to isolate that.
And this is within the general fund, so it's still remaining general fund dollars, so.
We obviously don't know what we don't know, but is that enough? We may have to transfer more
Right, I just felt like that would get us.
to start.
And if any other funds need to be moved into it, we can take another vote to do that.
And then,
Can you keep us a kind of a running?
You'll see this now tracked on your monthly report you get.
we haven't spent a ton yet. Is that true?
When you
Depends on
say
what we
it's
spend.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That is perspective.
We haven't, do we know what we've spent so far?
I
guess,
would
and how-
say just in supplies, that you're up to probably about $20,000 just off the top of my head. We've been able to allocate those to some other resources. We've used our insurance wellness dollars to cover some of those things. We've tried to be a little creative in where we can pay for some of those items, but I'd say, yeah, between cleaning supplies and PPE type things, that doesn't even count the energy and resources for employees.
Well, it doesn't count the food, the grab and go.
The grab and go, that was a creative use. We had some
That's money was
donations.
spent.
Right. And the thing that we can do is we would be combining those special revenue funds with this to get the overall total, but we've got those allocated in separate funds.
So when you say that, spend about 20,000 so far for supplies and such, is that outside of the creative use of the different funding, or is that inclusive?
Outside.
Outside.
And to give you, a couple other specific examples, Jay and I met this morning on, one of the recommendations from a cleaning perspective is there's, I'm gonna call them wands, or there's these devices. We're gonna have to clean classrooms in between use every single evening, buses in between use. The only way you can do that is with really swift equipment that's gonna allow you to do it pretty quickly.
The Falkers?
Basically, they look like a Falker, thank you.
Those
Those
are
are,
static.
yeah, they're about $1,000 a piece, but you can't just use one in a campus of 350,000 square feet, when you also have 15 to 17 buses. So we're looking at near $10,000 in just those items. When you talk about.
Those things cut time down
Well,
tremendously.
they'll be what we need to use to get the job done, absolutely. But that's just kind of a comparable expense, and then, Patty, you and I had individually talked about just single-use masks. And if you take the idea that we may be providing, having to provide single-use masks every single day, and those are 35 cents a pop is what the cheapest we could get them at the moment, and that's not always a given. We could be spending tens of thousands of dollars in just masks. That's outside of the hand sanitizer.
Monitors,
Yeah.
packaging for meals, lots of.
$50,000 is unfortunately probably just a start.
on things like the sprayers, obviously, I mean, I assume you do that with more traditional sprayers, but like you said, man hours would be a lot more, so if you can attach some kind of ROI on some of those things, assuming, not without spending a lot of time on it, but vendors can usually just give you that, sure, this is the typical ROI versus doing it man hours.
Well, and as Tony
Sure.
said, it should save us time, which hopefully will save us having to add extra employees at some rate, so, but we can definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can do that. I mean, they can give us, when they did the demo the other day, he said you'll be able to come back and look at square footage per, and then per person doing it. So
Also,
maybe
your
should-
product will go up.
And I only say that because in the normal process, we would probably ask for that if we were to purchase it, but since we've kind of given you some
Yeah.
grace to, to go ahead and do it,
Sure.
maybe track that for us, so when further questions come up.
Sure.
Okay, any further discussion on the establishment of the COVID expense fund? Call vote?
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mrs. Tipping?
Yes.
And Mr. Burrow?
Yes.
Jonathan, if you would, could you give us a brief update on?
So originally, our hope was that later this week, we would be able to distribute our plan for the fall. That unfortunately is not going to happen, but I kind of want to run you through why. We met with the health department yesterday and had a very productive meeting. It was all the county schools, including New Hope and then the ESC, to just have a conversation about what the return to fall would look like. And we are trying really hard as a county to align in all ways that are possible for us to align. There are certain discrepancies and differences, but we want to present a unified front as a county because we think that's good for all of our county constituents and students. So the outcome of our meeting yesterday was that our goal is by the middle to end of next week, the health department will give us formal sign off on what it looks like to return to school. There's no bones about the fact that from the federal government down, everybody would prefer we come back with all students in the fall, and that's a path we're doing our best to walk towards, but there are still significant questions the health department did not feel comfortable answering, and I understand it. Some of those have to do with student masks, and then what does social distancing look like? Because you've heard some new discrepancies in, is it 3 feet or is it 6 feet? And then if it's 3 feet, who wears masks and who doesn't? What isn't in question is that staff members will be required to wear masks at all times. There will be some adjustments to that during instructional time for people who need to wear a shield, and we have been provided the parameters of what that looks like. So just as an example, if you're a speech therapist, it's very important that the student can see your mouth moving. So a shield that covers the chin, goes below the chin, and as much social distancing as possible when doing those sessions. So our team's kind of working through those things. Some of the other things we were directed by the health department yesterday was that we have a plan for all scenarios. So when I say we've planned for thousands of scenarios, I'm not kidding. But it is. We need to be prepared to have all students on campus. We need to be prepared to have half the students on campus at a given time. We need to be prepared for all students to be at home and to do remote learning again. So when we release our plan next week, our expectation is that we're going to give families all of that information, because you've seen the new color-coded lists, if you will, from the governor's office. Per the health department yesterday, our numbers have increased directly correlated to the fair, and we're not necessarily in the greatest state, comparatively speaking, to other counties. And it wouldn't be unheard of if at some point we're in some kind of mask wearing scenario. That won't be dictated by us, obviously. Us moving in and out of plants will not be dictated by us. If a student or a staff member is exposed or is diagnosed, the plan following that will not be diagnosed by us. The plan for students and staff and who quarantines and who doesn't, that will all be dictated by the health department. So there's a number of things they still have to work out before they're comfortable with us shipping that plan out. So I apologize, but this is kind of the name of the game. Our goal is that next Wednesday's board meeting, we have a plan for you specifically, and then we will get that out to staff, and then we will get that out to families, hopefully by the end of next week.
So to be clear, we're actually waiting on more information from the health department.
We're
Or
basically.
are we waiting because some of the other schools aren't?
No, we're waiting for the health department. Yeah, we're not necessarily waiting for, the other county schools, the superintendents, we've talked a lot, and we're all waiting on the answer to basically the same questions. And it really has to do with student mask wearing, 3 feet and 6 feet. One thing I failed to mention was, it seemed pretty clear from our meeting yesterday, if a student is going to be riding a bus, they're going to be in a mask. You know, we've seen plans from around the state, and there's not been a lot of adjustments on transportation as of yet, but masks for students on buses is going to be a thing. And we're going to have to relay to families that it is our encouragement, if you can bring your child to school, please do that, because it's going to put a little bit of a strain on the transportation services as well.
So hopefully this is a good time to ask this. My biggest concern is the elementary and preschool. Any specific guidance on that? How do
Well,
you,
the government.
how do you
governor's
social
guidance.
distance with those kids?
Yeah. Also my concern. How do you social distance with 4 and 5-year-olds? Is a great question. That's a great question. And no one's answering that. It's just basically
Do what you
do the best you can in those scenarios. And we will also make sure, and I know you all have talked to families, that in those instances that families are not comfortable, our online option is out there. We've had a lot of interest from folks on that, and this is why. Because we've been told by our community 2 things. I want my kid to come back full-time to school, or I want my kid online and they don't have to come back to school. We've also been told you can't make my kid wear a mask, and we've also been told everybody better be in a mask. So we're in a scenario where whatever plan we sign off on next week, 50% of the people are going to hate it and despise it. And so in communication, we're going to do the absolute best we can, but it's going to be my job to relay to our community that this is a work in progress that's being dictated to us at a different level. We will, our teachers, our staff will do an awesome job. Realize there isn't a perfect scenario here. You bring up one of the greatest questions. What do you do with 4 and 5-year-olds, and how do you keep them from touching them? So, lots of hand sanitizer.
Yes. Okay.
Flash,
Thank you, John. No, actually, I didn't have any. Anybody else have any other questions? I think it's great that the county schools are all working together, I think, and with the health department, it's a good, shows that we've maintained a good relationship with other agencies in the county. I think it's a great indicator of where we're at. We're all gonna be working together. I'm sure if one district finds a great way of doing something, we'll share it with the other districts and keep on going.
I should note from our meeting yesterday also, it is very important for us to put procedures in place for our staff to be safe upon their return. And that's of paramount importance to us and the work we're doing, why we're spending the money in certain areas. Yesterday, the health department did tell me that they are agreeable to test all of our staff members upon their return. We'll set up what that looks like. We're also going to set up, that might be prior to their return, so that we give a natural quarantine period if necessary. So I was thankful that Susan and Darren were able to make that accommodation. My understanding is they're going to do that for all educators in the county. But just for your information, I know that's a question that's come up quite a bit. And we have had conversations with them about doing, if it's possible to do routine testing, if that's an option. They said if they can make it work, they will absolutely do that.
Great. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will do. I'll second.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.